Hello YouTube and people of the interwebs, welcome back to another video. I asked you guys what videos do you want to see, and you've asked me once again to talk about Doctor Who theories, which you know is always a fun topic. Today we're going to be discussing what I think is going to happen and why I believe this in the Doctor Who 60th anniversary, which will take place in 2023 and I think will be the end of Chibnall's 5-year plan. Now, if you want to know more about Chibnall's 5-year plan, go and check out the video, link at the end and in the description. So, yeah, end of Chibnall's run, big anniversary special. What's going to happen? Now, 2 side notes before we fully get in. Yeah, my hair's disappeared, had a haircut, and if you can hear shouting, my brother is playing Fortnite. So, the number one main question that's on everybody's mind, which Doctors are going to be in this anniversary special? Now, another question being, is Jodie Whittaker actually going to still be playing the character by that point? And I think, yeah, I think it's going to be 13th Doctor is still the Doctor, because I'm pretty sure Jodie is going to have at least series 13 and then 14. She won't go on any longer. I think she'll have 11, 12, 13, 14. So right now we're like halfway through the 13th Doctor's era, which, yeah, fair enough. I think Chibnall and Jodie will go out at the same time. And as I've discussed in prior videos, Chibnall's 5-year plan will come to an end in 2023. I don't know why I forgot that. So, Jodie's Doctor is almost certain. But what about the other Doctors, fan favourite Doctors, such as David Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, Christopher Eccleston even? Now, David Tennant, I'm going to say, is the most likely to make a return to the show. He's got the most fangirls out there, he's got everything, basically. He's most people's favourite Doctor, especially of my generation. If I ask anyone in my school, who's your favourite Doctor, what Doctor Who have you watched? David Tennant, David Tennant, David Tennant, David Tennant. So, yeah. It's not actually confirmed we'll be getting any Doctors back, but I think it's incredibly likely, because when you think about it, Day of the Doctor's viewing figures were astronomically high for the time. Like, compare those to Series 7 and what they were achieving, which was also 2013. Day of the Doctor, like, almost doubled it, I believe. So, yeah, the declining state of viewing figures at the moment, with the Timeless Children only getting like 4 and a bit million viewers, yeah, they're going to want viewers to flood back to the show. And there's no better way of achieving that than bringing in all the fan favourite Doctors. So yeah, Tennant almost certainly is going to come back. Matt Smith, I'm going to say, is the next most likely to come back. He's got a ton of fangirls as well. It reminds people of a happy era, merchandising era, all these things the BBC obviously want to take Doctor Who back to. Also, story potential. 10, 11, 13 would be great alongside each other. Now, Peter Capaldi. Yes, he's my favourite Doctor and I love him to bits, but I think he's the least likely out of Tennant, Smith and Capaldi to come back, because he's said in numerous interviews that he probably won't ever play the part again, and yeah, it's not that he wouldn't be interested, he'll probably have other things on, or I don't know, maybe the BBC won't even want him back because they're focused more on Tennant and Smith, and maybe too many cooks spoil the broth, or whatever the saying is. I really hope and want Capaldi to come back. I think there's still a fair chance, so he's like 3rd most likely Doctor to make a return. He is relatively recent, and yeah, it's a 50-50 as to whether the actor himself would be up for it. Now, Christopher Eccleston, the 9th Doctor, so yeah, I've done this in a weird order, but I think he's going to be least likely to return, but the possibility is still there. Right, I just want to say this now. In one of my former videos, I said he hates Doctor Who. It was sort of a figure of speech, and everyone in the comments, Eccleston doesn't hate Doctor Who, do more research. I didn't mean it as he literally despises everything about it. I just said hate, strong word. I take that back. Whoops. But Eccleston could make a return. I don't know as he would, because he didn't even actually turn up for the NHS special Doctor Who thing, so there's a slim chance that he might make it into the 60th. If Jodie isn't actually the Doctor at that time, she is almost definitely coming back for the special. I do still think it'll be the 13th Doctor's era, But even if it's not, Jodie's almost certainly coming back because, as I've mentioned before, this special is almost certainly going to be written by Chris Chibnall. So yeah, he's going to include the 13th Doctor and Doctors he's written. Speaking of Jo Martin's Ruth Doctor or Fugitive Doctor, yeah, she's going to be in the 60th, isn't she? Like, probably, most likely. That'll link to other things I'm talking about later. But I think timeless Doctors and that whole thing, yeah, there's going to be loads of Doctors. Forget No Sir, all 13. It's now No Sir, all 457 billion.
How many? 60? Nearer 300.
Can anybody hear me?
This is impossible.
338? That's extraordinary.
However many Doctors there are out there. So, the Timeless Children, etc. I'm pretty sure this episode is going to be Chibnall's last and Whittaker's last. They'll have had a long run, and yeah, the BBC will want a new direction, and it'll be the end of Chibnall's 5-year plan. I think this is going to be the full conclusion of the entire Timeless Children, Timeless Child arc. So any unanswered questions from series 11, 12, 13, possibly 14, will all be wrapped up and answered in a neat little bow, which will cause massive divisions throughout the fandom in the 60th special.
Dr. Nasty is about to learn the, quote, truth of the Time Lords.
Speaking of, if you're going to solve all these things like the Fugitive Doctor, the Division, all this mysterious Gallifrey stuff, it's got to be heavily Gallifrey-centric. Yet, it doesn't want to be a rip-off of Day of the Doctor. So that's going to be a difficult task to achieve, but I'm sure Chibnall could pull it off. Please, Chibnall, please, Chibnall, please, Chibnall, please, Chibnall. I think it's going to be a big time crashing around them scenario. Lots of Doctors, lots of Timeless Children Doctors, Doctors, Doctor Who. Now, as I mentioned in the 5-year plan video, I firmly believe that the Chibnall era is actually moving towards some big villain return, some big climactic thing, because when you look at the step up from series 11 to 12, Chibnall's slowly, gradually building and building and building, and by the time we've got to the 60th or past series 14, it's going to be built so astronomically high that, yeah, there's going to be a new big bad, or a returning big bad, and I think the perfect shoes to fill would be Omega, because, yeah, this would also link to my parallel universe theory, and all these different theories flowing around, the Kasavin and their dimension. I think that Omega is going to make a big return. Now, this would seem like a blend of Day of the Doctor and the 5 Doctors, and as we can see from a lot of Chibnall's work, he does tend to sort of mix and match really good elements of classic and New Who that have worked before, and rewrite them in a new and interesting way. So I think Chibnall is going to take elements of the 5 Doctors with Omega returning, etc., and it's all going to become this big 60th anniversary thing set on Gallifrey, and it's going to be really fun. Alternatively, if the big bad isn't Omega, I think it could be Sacha Dhawan's Master, or maybe a multi-master team-up. I could see it being a multi-master versus multi-doctor team-up, because now we have got 3 distinct main masters of New Who. John Sim, Michelle Gomez, and Sacha Dhawan. Now, this 3, pairing, it's not a pairing, it's 3 of them. This trio would do really well on screen together. They bounce off the Doctors really well, and yeah, I think it would work tremendously. We also know that Chibnall likes pleasing fans, so what other characters can we expect? I think Captain Jack Harkness is quite a likely addition. We know he's going to be there sometime in the future. We've already seen him in episode 5 of series 12, Fugitive of the Jadoon. He promised he'd be back.
Just tell her this. I'm gonna see her again. Maybe not soon. When she needs me, I'll be there.
I'm pretty sure, as I mentioned in previous videos, he's coming back for Revolution of the Daleks, which is this year's Christmas/New Year's festive special. So John Barrowman as Captain Jack, I think, is quite likely to appear in the 60th anniversary. Now, speaking of Jack, Jack doesn't go anywhere without Torchwood. Apart from pretty much everywhere in Doctor Who, but that's beside the point. I think we could see a return of Torchwood. Yaz could have joined Torchwood when she leaves the TARDIS, etc. Yeah, new Torchwood team, Jack could be back, helping the Doctor fight whatever alien menace, Omega, etc. there are. On top of this, I don't think the big bad will be the Daleks. possibly the Cybermen, but I think it's got more Time Lord centric because it's going to revolve around Gallifrey, so likely Omega or the Master. Also, if you did just have the Daleks, it would basically be saving Gallifrey again, Day of the Doctor 2.0, which, yeah. Who else could return? Susan, maybe? Like, Carol Ann Ford is still alive, and I don't know why they didn't include her in Twice Upon a Time. The first Doctor said,
"One day I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back."
and he still hasn't gone back, apart from in the comics, so once again, don't complain at me in the comments for the comics. Also, as this is likely written by Chibnall, we'll probably see a return of all the Chibnall era characters who've been scattered around throughout the era, such as Ravioli, Pasta Woman, Ryan and Graham, unless they die in the Christmas special. They're leaving then, but yeah. As I've said, Jack, and different people will meet throughout the next 2 series leading up to the special. We'll have a big Avengers get-together.
Avengers!
Assemble.
Similar to Stolen Earth and Journey's End. Could we even see people like Ace return? Like, I don't know, we had that At Childhood Ends book. Maybe that was hinting, maybe this is all part of a big plan, or maybe not. Chibnall does seem to like bringing classic things back into the new series, like the tissue compression eliminator, or the overall feel of the stories. They feel quite classic, slow-paced, and you have the sort of atmospheric music rather than dun 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 dun. Yeah, it's like calmer, etc. So maybe we could see some classic Doctors. Speaking of, will we get a cameo from the Curator? Hopefully. And if we did, that would be so brilliant. Like, Jodie's just sat there and then the Curator comes in, nodding to the 50th and to the wonderful legend that is Tom Baker. So yeah, likely we'll see the Curator again. Now, what could this special actually be trying to achieve? I think it's going to be obviously Gallifrey centred, and I think they're going to end it on a happy... They're not going to end it sad. It's the 60th anniversary. It's not going to be sad. It's not going to be sombre. I think it's going to be a happy new restarting of Gallifreyan civilization. That's if it's not in a parallel universe. So let's say this is the universe that we know and love. Jodie's Doctor and the old Doctors, the whole Doctor team, the Timeless crew, team, gang, fam, gonna join together and yeah, new Gallifrey. Maybe same planet, refurbish it a bit. They can't just bring it back or time lock it, etc. because Day of the Doctor 2.0. But I think it'll end on a happy note with a new Gallifrey, new Time Lords, something or other. Maybe Romana can come back and Susan and fan stuff. So, end of Chibnall's era, end of Jodie's time as the Doctor. She'll either regenerate in that episode or similar to how Matt Smith did the 50th, then went on to finish his Doctor in the Time of the Doctor, the Christmas special of that year. Jodie will leave around that time is my prediction. We also have to remember that this is a considerable amount of time into the future. It's 3 or so years until this will happen, and with the viewing figures dropping as they are and the public interest seemingly leaving the show, could this be a really nice end, nod to classic, new, modern Who, all tied up to a bow? You could even get Stephen Moffat and RTD to come back. Maybe it is the end of Doctor Who. Maybe the 60th anniversary will be that final epilogue conclusion point and they'll sell it to Netflix or something else. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is the end.
Everything ends. That is always sad. But everything begins again too. And that's always happy.
And even if that is the end of the show, 10 years' time, a young person who watched Tennant's era, Matt Smith's era, Capaldi's era, who's a writer, will go to the BBC or whatever companies around then and go, you know what, I want to be the showrunner for Doctor Who. I want to start a new Doctor Who. And they'll go, no, it's an old sci-fi series. It was cancelled back in 2023. We don't want it anymore. And then that person will just start it again. It will be popular, and the cycle continues. But that does bring us to the end of today's video. If you did enjoy, remember to like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Don't forget to click below.
Subscribe to the confused Adipose.